I wish I was a better podcast host.
Sorry if I have coffee breath.
Well, sorry I haven't brushed my teeth or showered today.
Oh, wow.
I planned on getting back from the gym, showering, and doing all my stuff today,
Yeah.
but I did not.
What time did you get up?
I woke up right when I texted you, 9:30, right when you woke up.
Yeah.
We both woke up at the same time.
We're on the same schedule.
Yep. Okay, so this is my podcast.
Okay.
This is called I Don't Want to Be a Piece of Shit,
All right.
because I'm on a self-help journey personally.
All right.
I quit booze.
Whoa.
Yeah, 8 weeks ago.
Oh,
No
awesome,
booze.
man.
And then I started working out, started meditating, started journaling, started
Awesome.
eating healthy.
Yeah.
So then I wanted to have people on that did stuff that I thought was good because you don't drink.
Right.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot more than I.
Well,
am.
yeah, it's probably all gonna burn out and fizzle
Yeah.
soon. But I
Do you
just
still
thought
smoke weed?
I do smoke a lot of weed.
Yeah, me
Still,
too.
you saw it out.
Yeah.
So I wanted to first say I was thinking that I don't really know much about you.
Yeah, I don't know that we really know each other too well. I know you. I feel like there's always like a kinship with people that I meet in Cincinnati at Go Bananas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just because you start comedy in Ohio, and that place is such a great place. So.
But I would consider you one of my friends here.
Of course.
When I think of my friends in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
I would list you as one. But I was thinking about this. I don't even know where you're from.
I'm from Findlay, Ohio.
I did know that.
Yeah.
I did know that. Damn it. Because we've talked about how you're from. Did you start in Columbus?
I started in Columbus, Ohio, and then moved here in 2015.
Okay. What made you go to Chicago?
I think that the two choices were always Chicago or New York, and starting in Columbus, I don't think you really think that certain things are actually possible. So I felt like I would shoot a little lower and go somewhere where it seemed more doable than going to New York City, which seems so intimidating and daunting.
So you were in your late 20s when you started?
Yeah, I think I was 25 or 26 when I started.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then how long did you do before you moved to Chicago?
4 years.
4 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when I think of you, I think of you're a bit peculiar, but you're very charming at the same time, and I really respect that.
Thank you.
Because I think of myself as a very anxious, awkward person, and I think a lot of times it makes people feel uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
whereas I feel like a lot of times when you kind of bat outside of the social norms, and it's a bit endearing, rather.
See,
people are intrigued by you and want to talk to you more, whereas I make people feel not at ease.
See, I don't know that. I think that I don't. Well, thank you first of all. That's very kind of you to say. I get very anxious in social situations because I think people are always judging me. So that's nice to hear because I don't think that in my head. I think that I'm a weirdo and that people don't really want to talk to me. So, yeah, but I feel like I mostly am just I try to keep conversations very short.
Yeah. So now we're doing a long form on video.
Right. Yeah. So now this will go out on the internet. But just I don't know, because I feel like you just kind of are it's like that Seinfeld episode where you want to go out on top. So I feel like anytime anything starts to hit a lull, then I'm I'm going to go to the bathroom. I can't tell you how many times I've just gone to the bathroom and stood in the bathroom just to give the illusion, just so I could get out of a conversation.
I did that. I said I was going to go outside and smoke weed when I hit a lull in conversation. I went outside, I just walked out there, and then walked right back inside to go talk to somebody else.
I do that all the time. And I mean, when I was drinking, I would go just be I'm going to go get a drink at the bar. And even if, I would have a 3/4 full beer. So I would just chug that beer and then order another beer and then get really drunk.
Well, the social anxiety would then alleviate.
Right.
So, yeah, how long have you not been drinking?
Well, April 1st of this year, 2024, I decided I was going to do spring cleaning is what I was calling it. And so then I went from that up to May and was just kind of you know what, I feel pretty good, and I've always kind of thought that I shouldn't really be drinking, so I kept going. And then at the end of May, I went out to Vegas and I did a show out there, and then I went to see Dead and Company at the Sphere with some of my buddies. And one night in Vegas, when all of us first got there, I had like 15 beers. Yeah. But then that's the last time I've had alcohol. So since June 1st, there has been no booze in my body.
So, like, were there, like, particular events in which you were like, I got to quit drinking? Or was it more like you were drinking a lot consistently?
I definitely had one very significant event, and I talk about it a little bit in stand-up. I don't know that I'm want to go into here.
Whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. But then, and that made me quit drinking for like a month. And then I got back into it, and then I was still doing the same shit that I was doing. But over the course I started drinking when I was like 16 years old. So, and like then drinking heavily, by the time I was like 18, I was drinking very heavily, very frequently. And that continued for like 22 years or something like that.
Did you go to Ohio State?
I went to Ohio University.
Oh, you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is, at my time, was one of the top 5 party schools in the nation. So, it's like, and I feel like growing up too, like there's no, moderation is not the thing people learn when they learn how to drink. You want to be like the person who can drink the most at parties.
Yeah, I was in a frat at Miami.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's like, for some reason, people thought the sloppier you were, like, the cooler you were. Or at least that's how I perceived it. So my whole, like, approach to drinking was you just get blacked out.
I very much relate.
Yeah. And over the years, I had several things that were like, oh, that was a terrible thing. And I'd feel terrible about it for a while. But then I feel like you're just kind of like, well, everybody kind of does that shit. So then you just keep going.
But the anxiety builds up over time.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's amazing how much shit it does to you, like, physically and mentally, just not being able to sleep. Like, I felt like I used to just, like, sleep through hangovers.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got older, there's, like, I would, like, pass out, and then wake up at, like, 2 or 3 in the morning. Well, let's be honest. Like, wake up at, like, 5 or 6 in the morning and just be, like, awake but starting a hangover and just feeling like that crushing weight of like, oh shit, this is going to be a horrible day.
So how often were you hungover at like drinking?
Like for a while I was mostly just a like weekend, like Thursday through Saturday drinker, I would say. And then I would drink a little bit during the week, but nothing crazy. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like moving to Chicago and just being more into comedy, you spend so much time in bars and shit like that, and my job too like changed, and it was a little more like I wasn't getting up real early anymore, so I had more leeway to stay out later. And I started doing like I would run like bingo nights and shit like that and get paid in drinks. So I was getting like hammered anywhere from like I would say 3 to 7 nights a week every week.
That's something that's been like at Reggie's on Mondays. I always wish that I could just exchange my 2 free drink tickets for another meal ticket.
Yeah,
because I'm like,
I feel like they should do that. It's the same price.
Yeah,
right?
But I think it's more of drinks actually don't cost them anything.
Yeah, that's
food
true.
Actually is money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think like that is a thought I always have though, where I'm like, I'm not getting my full pay if I don't get the half, because you're only getting like $10 to $20 for a spot.
Yeah,
and then it's like, well, or I could also get a $30 beer tab.
Yeah, and that I guess like the nice thing now is some of the places are getting like those THC drinks.
Been doing those a lot,
and those are actually like, the problem though is like you talk about like the social anxiety of things. Like, when I drank, I had so much stamina to hang out with people. Like, it would be like, oh, my God, I can't believe it's 5 a.m. already. Mm-hmm. Whereas now I'm like, by midnight, I'm just like, I got to get the fuck out of here.
And I know it's like a thing you want to keep hanging, but then again, it's like, who are you hanging with until 5 a.m.?
Right. And eventually the conversation, I mean, like when you're drinking, you just want to keep hanging out with people and you just want to keep drinking and it's fun. Like getting hammered is fun.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the most fun things that you can do with your buddies is get absolutely shit-faced. So like you want to keep doing that. But then when you're not drinking, it's like, well, I think we've said all we can say, and I think I want to go home and watch a movie now. You know?
Yeah, that's why I just like I prefer like hanging with people that I really know. It's really hard to meet new people when you're not drinking.
Right.
Like I was thinking about that where I just was like hanging out at Kohl's and I was like, well, if I was drunk right now, I could go up and talk to anybody.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to talk to people right now, so I'm not going to.
And there is just like the whole thing of like, if you're at Kohl's or something like that, and you're just like, there's a reason to hang out if you're getting drunk. Like, if you're not getting drunk, it's like, well, I don't need to buy another $3 LaCroix. Like, I can go home and drink my ice cold Topo Chico, you know?
But with that, do you feel like your anxiety is a little bit better?
I mean, overall, like my anxiety in terms of like the getting stuff done and not feeling like I'm never going to be able to accomplish anything and kind of like the defeatist attitude of it, that has gone down a little bit. I mean, it's still there. That's just something that I deal with. But like I'm more able to deal with the things and the issues that arise. Whereas like if I was hungover, I would just lay on my couch and not do anything, you know? Or just like you feel stupid. So like you start to then get more doubt and it just hinders the way that you can put yourself out there.
Reactive, I feel like when I'm hungover, I can't really think about my actions.
Yeah.
I just kind of
And I can't move. Like I just lay on the couch and watch TV. So then all you can do when you're laying on the couch and watching TV, and it's like I'm just watching like I put on like King of the Hill or something that's like a comforting thing. Mm-hmm. So it's like I've already seen these episodes. I know what's going to happen. So I'm not actually paying attention to the thing on the television. All I'm doing is thinking about what a piece of shit I am.
Yeah, time is just moving forward, and
Right.
You're in pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, so what did you like replace it with weed immediately after, or did you?
Well, I mean, weed has always been in there also. So like,
but did it just ramp up?
I wouldn't say it ramped up. It continued because I've always liked weed and been pretty. I'm not very much when it comes to like substances. I've never really been a moderate person, but and weed has always kind of been. But with that, I like to I feel like that kind of is like. It can enhance a day sometimes where you're like, man, I'm going on this little adventure and this will make it a little more fun. And it's not going to be like, oh, I said some stupid shit after,
Yeah, sometimes I've been too stoned and said something crazy.
Well, yeah.
Well, like where I'm trying to be funny, but then everybody is like,
Yeah, I mean, I've said some stuff that I'm like, oh, God, that was like, I didn't think that through at all. But it's more like stuff that's like completely innocuous and isn't me just like saying something incredibly rude to somebody,
Yeah, I've said way worse things.
Right.
But I guess like weed is one thing that I'm trying to like scale back because I like at one point in life was from the beginning of the day probably like would buy a pack of cones at the beginning of the day and it would be like, well, I need to get another pack of cones before the end of the day. So it's like that's 6 joints.
Yeah, that's like quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like to take like a couple hits here and there and just kind of keep a steady thing going.
Yeah. I'm trying to like not let because I also can't do things in moderation. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, it's hard to be mindful where you're like, I'm just gonna do a little bit because I just don't ever pay attention. I'm just like, well, I'm smoking today, so I'm just smoking whenever I want to.
Right.
So I have to.
It is true. I mean, I do think that if I didn't have that, then maybe I would also be further along in certain things because maybe I would be more motivated. Because it does. I mean, there are times that does completely sap all motivation from you.
I mean,
But
I've ruined a few sets being too.
yeah, that is one thing that I'm like, I've definitely ruined sets being too drunk. Like, that was one thing that I felt like for a long time I didn't want to quit drinking because I felt like I needed a couple drinks to go do stand-up. And then I stopped drinking and was doing stand-up and was like, I'm like a lot better at this when I'm not drinking. And that was just like a realization that it's like one of those things where you don't realize what drinking, how it actually impacts your shit until you just like step away from it for a while and then watch other people that are indulging in it and the way that it changes them. And you're like, oh yeah, that is like, it is like not great for you. I mean, certain people can handle it and more power to you, but I feel like that fucks up my timing. Whereas weed probably like would make me more like self-conscious, but I do try to not smoke weed before comedy for that very reason.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I feel like alcohol always kind of helped me with stand-up because it allowed me to be more present. So I was always more like actually saying the jokes, whereas like a lot of times I catch myself now just like reciting the lines, and I don't like the timing's off. And so, but it's more like when my anxiety is quelled, I'm better at stand-up. When I'm able to like so I'm like, well, I shouldn't have to use alcohol to get there.
Right. And weed probably would ramp up your anxiety.
It makes you more in your head.
Right. It just makes you more cautious to be like, should I really be saying this? Is this actually funny? Whereas, yeah, alcohol is like going to break down those barriers of you being like, I'm going to just say this. And sometimes that works out really great, and then other times it does not. Is this your co-host?
Yeah, that's Jonathan.
Jonathan, yeah.
Short JB. Man, so you started drinking young in high school in Findlay, Ohio, which I did know that.
Yeah.
And then you went to OU, and then so you did a few years in Columbus, and then went to Chicago.
Right.
So you say you struggle with like anxiety and talking to people.
Yeah.
What is there stuff you do now, like, because you're an older guy where it's like,
well, what the hell?
Sorry.
No,
I just like, because I feel like I've used the excuse of like,
did you get me on this podcast to make me feel bad about being old, Carter?
I think you're a sexy man.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. But like I always, I started stand up at like 17, and where like I was like, people kind of gave me the benefit of the doubt for being really awkward. And now I'm like, I think 23 going into 24, people are starting to be like, you can't just be a kid. And so
yeah,
I'm curious how you take it as being like a anxious kind of awkward guy. But I don't think anybody would. I think people might say you're like a little like socially different, but like the way you do it, people really like you. You're well liked,
well,
and
that's good.
And everybody's like, he's such a nice guy. How do you translate your anxiety into being that?
I mean, I don't know that I have a great handle on it, like I said, because then I will take those little like social breaks where I'm just like, I make up a lie to go somewhere in wherever I am just to get out for a little while. So, your question is, how do I deal with my social anxiety?
Yeah, how do you deal with your social anxiety?
I mean, I that's something that's like a work in progress. I've been more aware of the things that I think and the things that, and like trying to put that up against reality. Because I think a lot of times you convince yourself the worst of things when that's not actually what is happening, and I think when you get into like social situations, you're going to convince yourself that everybody hates you for some reason or another, when that's not at all what's happening, and half the time they're not even really thinking about you. So sometimes I'm like, well, is this like a vanity thing, or like what do you call it? An egotistical thing where it's like, oh, this person must be thinking about me. And most of the time they're not. They're probably actually thinking the exact same thing you're thinking, which is like, am I being weird? The same anxieties. So I don't know. I try to get out as much as I can too, because I know that kind of stuff, if I let it take over, I wouldn't ever really leave my apartment. because to get out of my apartment a lot of times is a chore because it's just like, oh, fuck, I don't want to go, like, talk to everybody. But then it's like, but that's life. You know, you have to do that stuff, and you have to take it on. Otherwise, what are you going to be? Just like a shut-in and a hermit?
I think a lot of people choose that option.
Yeah, and that's I think that's like it's a cowardly way to live your life. And if it is something that you're dealing with, I'm not saying you're a coward, but I'm just saying it's just as like, that's how I feel, and that's the thing that motivates me to get out, because it's like, you're going to die one day, and you might as well take advantage of whatever you have around you, which is like very generic advice, but it's true. And if you let that take over and you let it just like hold you back, like I can think of so many times where I just wanted to stay in and I'm like trying to convince myself to do it, and then I go out and do something and it's awesome. Most of the time it's like, I'm glad I went and did that. And then you have that experience to build off of, and you have that thing to look back on, because I feel like your whole life is just like, what did you, like, how was the experience, you know? And if you can get out and interact with more people and do more stuff, you're just going to have a much richer life. And when you look back on it, you'll feel more fulfilled, and that will help quell the anxiety too, you know? Because a lot of times too, I just feel like it's like people just don't do things. You could convince yourself that you're not going to do it for one reason or another, and if you just do it, then you find that it becomes easier to do it the more that you do it.
Yeah. I mean, from an outside perspective, it seems like you have a pretty fulfilling, you do a lot of different things. You enjoy a lot of different music.
Yeah.
You go to a lot of live music. You do a lot of comedy. Yeah. You have a lot of friends.
Yeah, and that all, I think, stems from just, like, truly just trying to maybe outrun the social anxiety, or like anxiety in general, I guess you could say. Because, like, I do have that where it's like a very strange thing. I don't know if you have this too, where, like, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to go out and have to, like, talk to people. But then the reverse of that is sitting alone in my apartment, and then your brain starts to go, and it's like, well, I don't want to sit alone in my apartment either. So it's like kind of like a double-edged sword, and it's just like, well, the better choice is to go be around people, because you actually have the opportunity or the chance of something cool happening if you're around people. But if you're on your couch, you know what's going to happen. So,
yeah, I see. I always have like the feeling where I'm like, I arrived. I never have like the hesitancy when I leave my apartment, but it's once I get there and I'm like, because when I'm leaving the apartment, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with the people, and then I get there and I'm like, oh, you actually have to do that now. You actually have to.
I mean, I've definitely had that too, where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to this party. This is gonna be fun, and then I walk in and I'm just like, you know, I know some of these people, but I don't know them well enough to do this without getting hammered.
Yeah, you know, that's very relatable.
So there are times definitely where recently, and I think I would, when I was drinking, I would just like power through that by getting real drunk. And then you're just drinking with people. And maybe that would be actually a good way to form friendships with people. But now, like, I'm more, it's like I've had a couple times where I've gone to parties and I just do the Irish goodbye. And
I've been doing a lot of Irish goodbyes lately, and it actually makes me feel better. I thought you had to like say bye to everybody.
So I'm the same way, where I think both of us are probably very much people pleasers. And if you're like a people pleaser, you think you always have to make other people comfortable or whatever, and but it's just more awkward, I feel. Yeah.
God, I do miss the social lubrication of booze, but I do like going back to like making friends. I there's so many people I've like had like fun nights with that I don't remember at all.
Yeah.
That's like I have like a thing where it's just like after 3 drinks my brain just turns off and I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean that's probably like the sign of an alcoholic, right?
Yeah.
I think the quicker you black out, the more. Yeah.
Yeah, I blacked out off of 2 drinks one time.
Oh man.
But
Were they beers or?
No, I mean there were 4 drinks. It was 2 doubles, but but yeah, like there's like people will be like, "Yo, Carter, what's up?" And I'm like, "Hey," like I have that like every time I've done Don't Tell Columbus, I would just get blackout because it's in like the bar district, and whenever it was like one time we had like free drinks all night because the bar like knew Simon or whatever.
Yeah,
and so it's just like. I like got apparently like was bonded with them. We hung all night. I don't remember a single thing of it, but like now every time I go back, they're like, "What's up, dude?" And I'm like, "What up, dude?"
Yeah.
And I just
and you don't remember any of it.
Yeah, and so that's why I want to be more present.
Have you done that since? Have you done Don't Tell since you've stopped drinking?
Yeah, it was fun, and I had I remember that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Are you a non-alcoholic beer guy?
I did it not that long ago. Because I got to high dive really early, and there was nobody there, and I didn't want to just sit at the bar.
Did you get a Heineken Zero?
No, I got the Athletic, and it was an IPA, and I just was like, I slowly sipped at it.
Yeah, the IPA non-alcoholic beers are kind of like this is stupid.
Yeah, and I've been doing the weed seltzers, but a lot of times you go and they're like $15, and I'm like,
yeah,
well, for what?
Yeah, the weed seltzers are really expensive, and they're usually Delta 9.
Yeah, because no place can...
Right, which I'm not always trusting of, but...
Yeah, the other night, Riley and I went to a jazz bar, and she got a drink, and she got me a CBD seltzer, and I was like, do you want a sip? And she was like, I don't want to be fucking out of my body right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's CBD. She's like, I don't even want to risk it. She's that anti.
Yeah. I don't even know what CBD does. I feel like that's like the snake oil of weed, but
I mean it's like
supposed to like calm your anxieties.
Yeah, and it also has like physiological things that it does. It anti-inflammatory and stuff like that.
I've just always been a THC kind of guy, you know.
There was times where I had to quit weed for drug tests, and I would literally go buy hemp and smoke a joint of CBD hemp.
One time I tried to stop weed because I was looking for jobs in Columbus, and this was when Spice was a thing, and I tried to transition to Spice, and that was just like it was like potpourri.
Oh yeah,
and I smoked it once, and it was like very dissociating. So I was like, this is not weed at all, and I feel like this is going to be something that's going to do some like damage. So I stopped with that, and then people started like eating faces or something like that. Yeah. So I'm glad I didn't get too far into that.
So did you didn't do anything crazy when you were on Spice? It didn't make you?
No, it only lasts. I mean, I only did it a couple times, and it was a very like quick. Whatever variant of Spice I had was like a very quick buzz, but a very intense, and there was a lot of like huge rushes of anxiety of just being like, oh fuck, what
it was
is
essentially
happening?
just cleaner sprayed onto something,
right? So then I just, after that, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna smoke weed, and if I fail a drug test, I'll find a job that doesn't drug test me.
You don't want that job anyways,
right? So
I mean you're a jam band guy, you enjoy the psychedelics.
Yeah, you know, I do.
Although I guess I should ask you what you want to get into before going on the pod.
No, I've done those quite a bit, and they're always pretty fun. So
yeah, I'm nervous. I don't want to get in touch with my true self for a while.
Oh, you've never done them?
No, I have, but like I would do them, and then like there was one point in which I like made a whole revelation where I dropped out of school and moved to Cincinnati to like be like in the stand-up mix.
This was your revelation?
Yeah. Well, because I was driving like an hour every day to go, and I was just like, why? You're going to school for what? Just to...
This was when you were going to school where?
Miami.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I went there for like 4 years.
Whoa.
And I just didn't graduate. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
And then you got in the reserves?
Well, I did that before to like pay simultaneously, and it paid for school.
You must be pretty smart. Miami's like hard to get into, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I did really bad in high school, but like I got a good ACT. Yeah. And I went to a really good high school, so I think like getting a 3.0 there is like I don't know, public school 3.5.
Gotcha. I got a 3.0 in public school, so I would have had probably like a 2.5 your school.
Yeah, but if I would have followed my heart, I would have went to OU. But the reason I went to Miami is I was like, it's the most expensive public school, and I'm getting it for free. So let me get the best bang for my buck.
Yeah, that's probably smart. I think if you would have gotten a degree too, that's a good degree to have.
Yeah, so close, so close. I was like 15 credits away.
Were you drinking too much?
I was drinking quite a bit, and I I was starting to like go just to Fort Wayne to host for the weekend all the time, and like just not doing my schoolwork when I was gone.
So what was your family's reaction to you delving into stand-up as opposed to the free college education?
Well, I guess I had started stand-up before, and I just like slowly progressed into just doing that all the time.
Okay.
And yeah, my family's really bummed, but also like they weren't paying for it, and they weren't like, they can't like tell me, they don't. It'd be one thing if I was like reliant on my family, because then you got to do what your family wants you to do. But like if your family can't control anything about you can kind of just tell your family what you're doing.
That's true. Yeah, they're not paying for it then.
Yeah, and it's like my mom, I'm like a mama's boy, so she'll like love me no matter what, and I don't respect my dad, so it's like,
oh my God. I hope he doesn't hear this podcast.
Oh, I hope he does.
That's funny.
God, where are we? Okay, we're at 30 minutes right now. We're about 2/4 of the way through, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Bet. All right, so let's go into your childhood.
Oh my goodness, my childhood.
So what do your parents think about you doing stand-up?
They're supportive of it now. I mean, I think when I first started, they were very. I had graduated college, and I was like substitute teaching for a couple of years.
Yeah, what was your degree in?
Education.
Education.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you use that now, right?
Yeah, I do. Like, I worked at a school for kids with autism, and then my job here is I'm like a support person for a guy with autism.
Mm-hmm.
So I've like used education throughout, I guess you could say. But yeah, when I started, I had nothing. I was subbing and living in my sister's basement, and then I was like, oh, I'm starting stand-up comedy, and I think they were very much like, you gotta get a job. That's what you need to do. And then my mom came and saw me at an open mic. I brought her to an open mic like a year into comedy, and I don't think she was too impressed.
Really?
But then as time went on and I got better at it and started doing more things, and they came to see me on like actual shows and saw that like I wasn't terrible at it and that I enjoyed doing it, then they were more supportive. And then as like time's gone on, I've gotten to do some cool shit, and they've become more supportive.
Yeah, you've done some cool stuff back in Columbus.
Yeah,
when you go back, so it's nice. And then, so like you lived with your sister at that time. How did she feel about when you were starting to stand up and living with her?
Well, when I first moved to Columbus, I was moving there for my girlfriend at the time. And my sister hated me, and I hated my sister too. So, like, when I first moved there, she was like, you have, like, 3 weeks to find an apartment. You can stay in the basement for, like, 3 weeks. And then 8 years later, I moved out and came
to wow.
Yeah. So we became, like, close through that, which was good. And she, she didn't give a shit if I what I did with my life. So
yeah, why'd you guys hate each other?
I think we were just two very different people. And
older?
She's older, yeah. She's 3 years older. And she just, her interests don't align with mine. And I'm, like you said, I guess I'm weird, kind of a weird guy. So, and she's a little more straightforward.
I think you're fun and quirky.
Oh, thank you. But she's a little more straightforward, so I think we didn't mesh growing up.
She's not into jam bands?
No, she's not into the music I'm into. I used to also just do dumb shit and be kind of more of a, I don't know, just stuff that
problem.
Would be not really it's just stuff that would annoy her. Like she went to college and was in a sorority, and we went up to take her out for her birthday, and I showed up at her sorority with a mohawk, which is just like so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't because I was going there, but I walked into her sorority and she was just like, you have to go outside. You can't be in here with that. And
with a mohawk?
With a mohawk, yeah. Which is just like, this is all very tame stuff. But like, that's just the kind of shit that she just didn't really see eye to eye with what I like to do. So.
Yeah, she's very presence.
Right.
Likes the good.
And, to have her brother in front of her friends with a mohawk was like very embarrassing for her.
I would get a mohawk every summer when I was a kid.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I grew my hair out my senior year of high school. Not as nearly as long as I have it now, but it was like longer. And then my friend shaved it in a mohawk, so I had like a really tall one.
Oh.
That's why she was upset, because it was like a very significant mohawk.
It wasn't just like the little badger strip.
No, I had like it gelled up. It was very big.
Dyed green.
Not dyed green, just my regular color. But
that's what the Guitar Hero character is what I think of every time I think of a tall mohawk.
Yeah, it was. I mean, if I would have dyed it green, it would have been very similar to that. So.
And you had to gel it every morning, straight up?
I mean, I only had the mohawk for like a week.
Ah, okay.
I just kind of did it as a fun thing.
Oh, as a bit.
Yeah, and then I shaved my head. So.
Yeah, I can't, or I think a mohawk would actually look pretty good on me right now.
Yeah.
Because my hairline's already starting the mohawk like all the way here.
Yeah, I think you should do it.
I think it would just continue the thing. Or I could do Avatar The Last Airbender. You know that?
Yeah, the guy on your screen right there.
It's my favorite show.
Really?
I have a tattoo on my thigh.
What do you think of the M. Night Shyamalan
It's bad. It's very, very bad.
It's supposed to be one of the worst movies ever, right?
Mm-hmm. It would. They threw out all the logic of the show. And it bummed me out.
A lot of logic in Avatar.
Well, there was like logic of how the bending worked, and they changed it.
How to bend air.
Yeah, well, they changed like in the show you can you produce your own fire, but in the movie they were like there has to already be fire, so they could like take the candle fire and throw it, but it's like then you're not as strong. Then it's like how are you the dominant force of the world? Whatever.
Yeah.
And then also the acting, and they changed how the characters were, and it's like why would you do all that? It's a show that has a dedicated fan base. They want the same. Okay.
Yeah.
But I really like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay.
And I don't know. That's one of my comfort shows in which I watch, and it does have a lot of nice messages in it. I do get to the end of it, and like it'll be like like a string instrument playing very slow, and I'll start to tear up, and I'm like,
whoa,
I gotta get my shit together.
Were you watching Avatar when you decided that you were going to go on this self-improvement journey?
No. I broke up with the lady that you met there, and then I went homeless for a month, and was like, I gotta change. That's what made it all turn around. I got really fucked up and got into some stuff I shouldn't have gotten into, and was like, all right, from this day forward, we're better.
That's good.
And now it's like, but I've always done this before, where I'll like take breaks from drinking and be like, all right, I'm gonna turn the ship around. I'm gonna eat healthy. I'm gonna do this. But now I'm like trying to do it where it's like, it's not all in. It's like every day you got to try hard, but it's like if you don't, like before I was like if I fucked up with drinking, it's like, well, now I'm just the booze guy again. I'm just going to get drunk every day if I falter a little bit, but it's like now it's like if I make a little mistake, I'm like, all right, just write in your journal tomorrow, you're going to do better.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's like a good way to look at it. Because it is easy to be like, oh, well, I got drunk yesterday, so I'm just going to get drunk again today.
Yeah, I mean, you like drank in Vegas, but then you were like...
Yeah, and then and it was just one of those things, like the hangovers, I don't know how you experience hangovers, but like I've always had bad hangovers, but as time has gone on, they transition more from physical hangovers, which I still felt physically terrible, to like mental hangovers.
That's what I would really get. It's just but also I think it contributed to the blacking out of like not knowing what I did.
Right.
But yeah, I understand that.
And that is crazy. I mean, like now when I think about it, I'm just like, when I think about drinking again, I do think like, oh man, sometimes I really would love to just like, I go by a bar and I don't really have anything to do that night or the next day. And it's like, man, that would be fun to just like sit at the bar and get shit-faced. Like, by myself. I like doing that.
Yeah.
I'm a big, like, by myself drinker. I like doing that. But it just is like, man, I just know that the next day will be, like, terrible.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened in Vegas. Was like the next day I was just walking around Vegas and it's like 100 degrees. I'm trying to find something to eat and Vegas sucks and I'm hungover and I'm just like, if I was not hungover, this would be like not as brutal as it is right now.
See, I almost like viewed being hungover as like another escape where I'm like, I can't focus on my actual problems because I'm like, this sucks so much that I don't actually think about all the other things that are going. Like, I used to kind of enjoy that because it's like I spent all day hungover, so I didn't have to like deal with any of my real problems.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would do. My problem is I would just like think about my problems. So like it wasn't an escape. It was like I was like a prison almost, just being like, fuck, I have no savings. I have no job prospects. Like I'm not, everything is going to be bad. And then I couldn't get up and go do things unless I went into like and got drunk again, basically. So just like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's very easy here in Chicago. I just feel like the culture here is a little bit more drinky than
For
Cincinnati.
sure.
Like in Cincinnati,
And Cincinnati's a big drinking town too. Like,
yeah, it's just the comedy scene. Like most of the
Right.
guys I know are sober.
Yeah.
Like I think every single one of my friends doesn't drink beer besides like one in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Chicago is for sure a huge drinking town. And I also just feel like overall, like as my life has progressed, like drinking, whatever the alcohol lobby has been doing over the past like 15 or 20 years has been so successful because they've basically put alcohol in every aspect of life. Like, I don't ever remember going to the movie. Like, I remember sneaking beer into the movie theaters. Now you go to a movie theater, like, there's a bar at a movie theater. There's a bar at the grocery store.
Yeah, that you can carry the wine with you at the grocery
Right.
store. There's a paint and sips. There's everything is alcohol
Everything
related.
has alcohol on it. And it is, like, when you're having fun drinking, it's like, this kicks ass.
Yeah,
I can get a beer everywhere.
I love an Irish coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. There's not a path for me, but like Riley is so good at drinking. She loves to have 3 drinks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't picture that reality for myself.
Yeah, 3 drinks is just, like, as soon as I get to, like, 2 drinks, you're like, because, like, 1 drink is just like, all right, then you get the next one, and then you're starting to feel good. And then the third one is just like, man, let's just have a night.
Yeah, we were out, and she was sipping the 3rd drink, and she was just like, I think I'm good right here, actually.
Yeah.
And then waited like 45 minutes before she like went back at it.
Right.
I was like, that level of like being in touch with how you feel in the moment is something that I'm really trying to like work towards.
Yeah. I will say this too, like the non-alcoholic beers, I find myself sometimes like drinking those like I would drink beer.
I understand that, yeah.
But the good thing is they're not getting me drunk, so I start to get to a point where I'm like, wait a second, I'm spending like $30
to
on
get
non-alcohol.
full.
Yeah, to get bloated on non-alcoholic beer, and then I stop. Whereas if I was drinking, I would somehow like convince myself to be like, dude, you got like this much money, like you're fine.
You got this much
yeah,
money.
just keep drinking, And so I would keep drinking, and then you spend way too much fucking money. I don't know. So,
yeah. Have you ever been in love?
have I ever been in? I have been in love. Yes. I don't know. What handful of times, I guess.
A handful of times. Did that? Did any love lead to drinking? Any love lost?
Oh, for sure. And I definitely, drinking also led to strained relationships. For
See,
sure.
I relate to that.
Yeah, I mean, like, first of all, the booze would make you very moody.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I'm hungover around whoever I was dating. I probably wasn't very pleasant to be around, and would like be like more of a dick, I guess you could say. And then when I was drinking too, you get into arguments with people, especially like when you're in a relationship, because certain things that you're like suppressing come out when you're drinking.
Yeah.
But they come out in the worst possible way.
Yeah, they say like your real drunk words are real or sober thoughts or whatever. I wish I was smoother with that. But like I think the only scream fight I've ever gotten to with a lady is when I was drunk. Besides that, I don't think I've ever had like a yelling argument.
Oh yeah, I think I've had like two. I don't know. I've had a couple of those for sure drinking, and it is like you wake. It's embarrassing to wake up and be like, what? How did that get to that point where like we were yelling in public at each other?
Oh man!
And that is that's embarrassing.
And the worst part is the hangover the next day is because you were crying and yelling, so your head and your face just feels like it accelerated the hangover.
Yeah, I'm not a big crier.
I'm a huge crier when I get drunk. I cry every time I get drunk.
Seriously?
Yeah, I'm a sad guy.
Well, okay.
I like wail. It's awful.
Man.
Yeah, I gotta get control of that.
I don't know that. I for sure have cried when I've been drunk. I mean, I'm sure I've had a couple mental breakdowns, but I was never a crier or anything like that.
Yeah, I used to have like huge emotional outbursts when I was like in like late in life, like 5th, 6th grade, like in class, and then they suddenly went away. And then I think every time I get like blackout drunk, those like emotional outbursts that I used to have kind of come back.
Yeah, I think we're probably pretty similar in that way. When I was younger, I used to have those too. I get really pissed off and it would like build to like a breaking point, and I would like, just let it out in a very not a like a way that was like hurt anybody, but just like a very embarrassing way. And I think I learned that how embarrassing that was. So I've learned to just bury everything real deep, which isn't a good thing. But
God, yeah, I used to I was confused in high school why like my friends from my grade school didn't talk to me anymore. And then now that I'm older, I think about it. I was like, oh yeah, I was the kid that flipped their desk in the middle of class and threw their books because like,
oh shit,
I was like, a little bit troubled like that. But it like without therapy or anything went away.
Whoa.
Like all those like, and I know what it was, but
okay,
it was just like puberty and translating that into masturbating. But
you masturbated for the first time, and you're like, you know what? I don't want to flip a desk anymore.
Yeah. I had therapy today, and we talked about that, and I was like, I think I legit translated my like anger or whatever into that.
That's what you talked about in therapy today?
Yeah.
Masturbating?
I mean, you've seen my act. I'm a bit of a sexual deviant, so there's issues that I need to work out.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, obviously that would help if you're all pent up.
Yeah.
But
so I like that's like another thing that I'm like scaling way back is the whacking
jerking.
off.
Yeah.
See, when I was by myself doing the episode, I got very personal. I don't know if I should put it out, but I like talked about everything. And now it's like I'm talking into a person, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have.
Did you already put that out?
No. I'm gonna bank them and then put them out like once I have like 8 episodes or something.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, but I think that's a wrap on the first one.
That's a wrap on the first one.
How do you feel about this pod?
I enjoyed it. It was fun to talk, and I'm glad that we ended on your love of masturbation.
Yeah, I should have left it off on a good note that you had.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, kind of stomp on it.
I thought it was the cherry on top.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. Hope you guys tune into the future ones. Go follow Michael Meyers on what's your socials?
It's all. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube at me Michael Meyers.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I've been Carter Doherty. This has been. I don't want to be a piece of shit.